Okay. What were the worst and best bits of the experience from Sonia Harrison?
Shona Harrison.
Shona Harrison. Shona. We've described a bit of the best bits of it in terms of our experiences.
I think there were lots of best or delightful experiences. I think just to see the young students who are completely over us, trying to help as much as they can, and with the sense of maybe understanding and misunderstanding, and half the time I'm not sure if maybe they understand, but they're pretending to not understand. So there's a lot of guessing game taking place. But the girls are completely sweet. They seem very helpful and genuine. And
these were Yang Yang's assistants you're talking about, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say the worst experience was probably driving or being driven on the road, on the highways.
Man, oh man, get ready for an experience like that.
Going to, for instance...
any taxi ride.
Dazhu, where the beautiful UNESCO protected sculptures are. On the highway, I just feel we're going to die, especially going through the tunnels where you don't know how long the tunnels are. And because of the traffic jams, you're stuck inside the tunnel with every vehicle running their motors, and you get this accumulation of gas, carbon monoxide. I truly felt at times we were going to pass out and die. So to me, that was the most scary experience, just because also there are no seatbelts, and I'm terrified of being in the car without a seatbelt on.
And I was almost going to talk about our accommodation, how the bathroom was so terrible. It was constantly wet, but then we had an awful bathroom experience in Nottingham as well. So
and at least you had your own toilets outside in a public communal crouch-matic kind of situation, so
yeah.
That's good. I would say we walked away with a fairly positive experience, even though we know certain people were not happy, had really bad experiences, and we're sorry to hear that.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say, it's really unfortunate the whole residency seems to be tied around a single person, that being Yang Yang.
That's right. And also when we were there, other people were there, so Yang Yang was completely full of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I think that may have caused some of the friction, because when you're at a place you want, and you're there for a short time period, you want things to run smoothly your way so that you can get as much out of that time period as possible. But I think, again, if you go there with not as high an expectation, perhaps things will work out better. Not sure.
How did we cope with the pollution?
We bought lots of bottled water. We try to cook sometimes, because I can't even trust the soup that we were drinking. And I've seen the way they deliver vegetables. They just toss them on the front steps of the restaurants, and and maybe a second ago someone would have just walked past and spit on it with a harking kind of spit on that same area, or a dog or a cat goes by. So it's completely gross. I would say eating was probably the worst experience for me, even though the food was extremely tasty. Though very spicy, very oily, we've gained a lot of body fat.
Pollution.
Well, isn't that part of the water?
In terms of the air pollution, there's no way to cope with it other than just ignoring it.
We just said we're here only for a month. Hopefully our body can cope with this.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We did ask a lot of questions, but most people there were in a state of denial.
Yeah.
They completely believed that the pollution was actually a fog.
Yep.
So that was very interesting to see how people
cope with that kind of situation.
With their situation.
And we were also glad that we were not there in the heat of the summer, where you were reliant on fresh air.
It was April.
And it was April, and so in that terms, April or October would probably be the best times to be there. Okay.
How did Chongqing differ from your expectations? I would say it was a lot dirtier, a lot rougher, a lot more. There were a lot more you have to make do to realize whatever intention you had.
I didn't expect that big of a city, and
it was huge.
It was a huge city. And
this question's from Nicola, and so was the previous question. Nicola MA Fine Art student from Manchester Metropolitan University.
And I never expected hot food to be that hot. There was one more thing.
We've been to Shanghai, we've been to Beijing.
Yes, that's the
so we were used to a certain level, sometimes that exceeded Canadian standards in terms of tall skyscrapers, fancy this and fancy that. The place where we landed, which is near the university where Yang Yang teaches, we didn't realize it was actually a poor neighborhood. We, for the first week or so, thought that was what Chongqing was like. But if you were to go outside of that area, you actually get to see a glimpse of modernity and cleanliness, which we didn't experience in the vicinity of the 501 Contemporary.
But that also leads to that we saw more of a less cosmopolitan China, and that's kind of what I was glad to have seen.
Right.
That Shanghai and Beijing can be quite urban and quite open in some ways, where Chongqing was rougher and rawer.
Yeah, yeah. I have to go back to question number 6 regarding what were the best and worst bits of experiences that we had. A question asked by Shona Harrison. I would say one of the most delightful experience we had was actually the night when people gather around the courtyard, sitting in little stools with little tables having tea, and Johannes and I presented a PowerPoint of our work. My introduction to them was I felt completely at ease, completely had a sense that we were in a Chinese traditional painting where scholars got together to discuss philosophy, ideas. They were actually shocked to hear this because for them it was like a real life situation, but I guess I had highly romanticized or idealized our stay, so it kind of trickled into this the sense of a painting. But to me it was still a very wonderful experience, just because people there, I think they're still really, as much as they're engaged with the Western ideas and whatever technologies and information they're able to grab from whatever the closed doors or censorship that's controlling them. They have a fairly good sense, but they've never lived it and experienced it, so the understanding may not be there. So I've always loved the fact that they were so generous and genuine in terms of wanting to know and wanting to, just ask questions and discuss our situations.
Which leads really nicely into...
Anyway, that was number 6 again.
Now we're back. Now we're number 9, and this is Nina's question. How was your work received in Chongqing, especially Johannes's, considering the nudity element? I thought that I would have to be defending it a lot more, and in the end I probably labored on defending it too much. And I had a really interesting discussion with Renchen, my collaborator, who actually thought that nudity was sort of passé. It was something that the Chinese performance artists did in the 90s. And now, for him, they've been there, done that. For me, I was looking at it more as in terms of a revival of something from the 60s and 70s, where they were thinking of utopic ways and breaking boundaries and trying to revive some of that. So there's just a different crest of the wave. Most of the other students we were talking to didn't know that kind of history, nor did they know actually identify with Renchen's history in that way.
So needless to say, during the night of performance, the place was completely packed.
Because of the nudity element.
Because of the nudity, and for Johannes to make his presentation, people were completely engaged, wanting to know more about nudity and how it can even happen. So it is my understanding that it's still illegal, perhaps, I'm not sure, but my impression, my idea of nudity differs from Johannes's, because he's so blasé about his own sense of nudity. For me, it wasn't the use of nudity wasn't there to confront or challenge. It was just a state of as is. It was natural. It's not to be. It was never used to be confrontational. although all those things come up just because of our engagement with what nudity is. And in China, because they don't maybe see it as often or experience it as often, it becomes something that's an event, maybe a I can't remember the word. Anyway, it goes beyond the performative. It is a spectacle. That's the word I want to use. It's spectacular in a way. Yeah, so it draws a lot of attention and curiosity.
We do have to move along because we're already...
Okay.
What did you prepare for?
What didn't you prepare for? I can answer for Johannes.
Oh.
He didn't prepare for the cold and dampness, and also for the hard bed. So in fact, he was fairly, I wouldn't say aggressive, but fairly demanding in wanting to have more foam or mattress. Certain things broke down at the residency, so he was very insistent on things getting repaired. For instance, the fridge. I would say, because we travel so much, we were pretty prepared, pretty well packed. And as I've stated before, I hardly took any art materials with me because I knew for sure that I can find unexpected materials and for fairly inexpensive prices while in Chongqing. So yeah, nothing else really surprised us except for, I would say, the pollution and the kinds of food. Yeah. Number 11. What's the most interesting thing someone said to you? By Rory O'Neill. Oh my God. Okay, I have one. Prior to leaving for Chongqing and for Christmas, Johannes bought me a book called The Corpse Walker, which is an amazing book. And it's a true life documentary of this journalist who, this journalist documented people from the lowest run of societies. So he would talk to prostitutes, a prostitute or body snatchers and organ sellers, and he also talked to he talked to someone who actually seen corpses walk. And the most intriguing for me was professional funeral mourners. These are people who are hired to go to a funeral and they will cry. So in the book it was documented really well, and I was completely intrigued, and it happened to take place in Chongqing, that area, and I think that's one reason why Johannes bought me the book. So we actually hired 2 professional funeral mourners, and so the first person came, she was a woman, she did it really well, and then we had hired the second person about a week later. So when we took the second person, a guy, to the same space as someone's studio to do the same performance, because I wanted to create the same condition, the same lighting, the same sound, the artist who actually lent his space came to me and he was completely outraged. He said, "You brought evil spirits, unluckiness into my space by having these people here." And I just thought, wow, that's really interesting. I had been very insensitive. I didn't realize, for one thing, how superstitious people may be or still are, even though, you know, there's a sense of westernization. So
I was because it was coming from a young person. That's what was so surprising.
He was an artist. So to me, artists are progressive.
Student?
Yeah, so to me, artists are more progressive and more open-minded. But here's this guy who's the way he talked, he could have been a 90-year-old person speaking to me. So that was the most surprising thing I heard.